How's it going, guys? We're back here with the Liberty Hour. I was just discussing an issue that has to do with 3D printed guns and how Trump is trying to basically go against that and say it doesn't make sense. I just explained the issue in the last part, and I'm going to go ahead and ask you now, Al, what are your thoughts on the whole issue that's going on right now, 3D printed guns? Do you think Trump's doing a good thing by basically saying it doesn't make much sense and talking to the NRA about it and possibly maybe having gun control against that? Or do you think it's not that big of an issue? What are your thoughts in general?
I think it's fine that I don't. Okay, so the thing about like 3D printed guns and people wanting to ban it is like how does the government go about banning it? And I think having a 3D printer to print out guns or whatever you do with it, I think it's good, because if we ever have a government that wants to take away firearms, it's like we always have that as a backup. So, and I'm not a strong believer in gun control, because I don't even think you can really regulate to the extent of to tell if someone's going to shoot up a place, or you can always just buy guns off of the black market. So, I mean, I don't mind 3D printers for guns to be legal. I mean, you can get guns through literally any outlet. It's not that hard. You can go to like there's like this, like the dark web. I heard like you can buy guns off of the Silk Road, which is like a black market. So I definitely don't mind that being legal in the U.S., even though people could argue that it leads to a hazard where you got people who with mental illnesses that buy it and get a hold of guns. But I think they would be able to get a hold of guns anyway, so I don't think it really makes that much of a difference.
Well, and that's the thing. This all comes pretty much out of gun control in general. I don't think that this actually would have been that big of an issue or that big of a deal if we didn't have certain regulations in place that we already have. Now, with me saying that, I want to make it clear that I am for concealed carry and universal background checks. At the same time, I understand that there's even a way to bypass that, and I understand that that's not 100% foolproof. But let me explain where we're at pretty much in gun control in this country. We're at a point in this country when it comes to gun control where when somebody online talks about shooting up a school, we don't know if that person's telling the truth or not. And the thing is, you can't really even tell. So there's really nothing you could... like I've said this before, I don't know if there's anything you could even do about that. Besides having more people trained when it comes to those situations and how to handle them if they occur. But, there's people who, even if something's a joke, they'll ban something or shut something down. For example, I'm not sure if any of you guys out there play Cards Against Humanity, but basically their online version of that has been shut down as of last week because there was one person on there who made a joke in one of the card, which is something you shouldn't say, but it's not something I don't think that should be reported to the authorities and then have the FBI shut the page down, basically, which had to do with a specific case of somebody saying they were going to shoot up a specific school. And, in this country right now, I think it's good for, in today's culture, to actually each person have a gun, because you never know what kind of sickos you're going to, have to deal with or face. You never know what situations you're going to encounter or occur. And I think even though it's to the contrary of some people's popular opinion, I think people are safer with a firearm than without, and that comes from a person that doesn't have one. I definitely wouldn't mind owning one. I do feel safe without one because of the city I live in. It's a very good area. Not a lot of violence occurs. I think we've only had 2 murders in Lincoln in probably the last decade. But overall, I think in most of America, it's a good idea to have a firearm just in case. In terms of 3D guns, like I said earlier, I don't like the idea that it does bypass the background check system. However, if there ever was a case where there was severe gun control implemented, like you mentioned, Al, it is a good alternative. Honestly, something that can be really utilized by the free market and expand and explode. But just like with other things, the government will probably try to find a way to shut that down. And as much as I hate to say it, they'll probably be successful. So I don't think this is, in my opinion, going to be something that will last for long, but it's definitely an interesting thing to be brought up. And we'll have to see where it goes. But I'm pretty much I'm interested to see if it actually becomes a thing, and seeing how many people actually go that route. But overall, I don't think it's the best idea in the world, but I'm not 100% against it.
Oh, and by the way, do you, because I've heard someone talk about this, how accurate is you said it's a 3D printer that that makes guns? Is that what you said?
Correct. Yes.
So is it proven that it actually can create a working gun? Because I heard someone that say that it doesn't even really work.
The way I've understood it is basically when it prints out, you could still have you could still put it still has a way to fire bullets. Basically, I know I have heard it's not as effective as other guns and stuff like that, but I have heard that it does still fire. But yeah, I have heard probably what you've heard before, saying that it's not as effective.
Yeah, because I hear people like have this outrage about the 3D printer thing, but even like I've heard a lot of people say that it doesn't even work and it's not even proven. So why would people go as far as to ban it right now? Like, well, I wouldn't.
Well, for me, if that's the case, and like I said, I'm not 100% sure on that. I have to check that again. But like I said, I'm pretty sure it works. It's just not as effective. If that is the case, then I don't understand why it's even that big of an issue. Like, I'm kind of with you on that. I don't even understand why it's that big of an issue. Like, if it's not working, then cool.
Because when I saw that,
the gun nuts can have it, but like whatever.
Yeah, when I saw that on Twitter, like when people like that outrage of Trump, like not really wanting to ban the 3D printers, I was like, this is such a non-issue. Like, no part of my mind is worrying about 3D guns. Okay, it's like that's just a whole another issue created to distract us from the real issues, like the national debt or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's like why is this even brought up? Like I was totally phased on that subject that I saw. I was like, what, 3D guns really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm with you there. I think it's something that's going to be still developing, but I think as of right now, it's something that's definitely important to look at, and it's interesting to look at, but I don't think it's that big of an issue right now. I really don't. Especially with how many guns there are already.
And how many related murders have there been by 3D guns?
That I do not know. If there are any, I would be sure that they would already have been reported, but I don't think there have been any as of my knowledge.
Yeah, so like I said, to me it's not that big of an issue, and if it is an issue, then I'll definitely look into changing my stance. But for now, I don't want to use government to ban it.
Yeah,
I think
for
it's
sure.
fine.
I hear what you're talking about there for sure. All right, cool. So with all that being said, speaking of guns, it's time to bring this issue up. I don't think we've really talked about. I've touched on it before in the past, but I don't think I've really talked about police encounters with people or how they've abused their authority and stuff like that. Now, before I get into these two stories, I feel like I have to do this whenever I post about it on Facebook or explain my opinion on this in any setting. Look, I'm all pro police officer. I understand that they go through very tough encounters throughout their careers, and I understand that it's probably one of the hardest jobs out there to do. And I respect them for mainly high majority of them caring for the people in their community and truly wanting to build relationships with those people. That being said, there's obviously a lot of bad ones out there, and they should be covered because we pay for them. And it's definitely worthy of bringing these two stories up. So this one is from July. Or actually, I'm going to give you guys the one that's more updated, and then I'll mention the other one in a couple minutes. So report. This comes out of Aurora in Colorado. Police kill veteran who shot naked intruder in his Colorado home. A veteran who fatally shot a naked intruder as the man attacked his grandson in his suburban Denver home early Monday was killed by responding officers, according to investigators and news reports. Police received multiple calls about a break-in in the home at about 1:30 a.m. When officers arrived, they heard gunshots inside, the Aurora Sentinel reported. Aurora police, who described the scene in a statement as, quote, very chaotic and violent, said they encountered an armed man and fatally shot him. That man turned out to be the person who lived in the home. A second man, the suspected intruder, was found dead during a search. A child who also suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries at the hands of the intruder, but police did not release additional details, citing an ongoing investigation. Quote, this is a very heartbreaking and tragic situation for everyone involved, Police Chief Nick Metz said. We are providing assistance through our victim advocates to help the family of the deceased resident through this very difficult time. Investigators have not yet released the names of the resident or the suspected intruder. The family attorney said Hartha Rathod identified the homeowner to CBS Denver as 73-year-old Richard, quote, Gary Black, a Vietnam veteran. Black, reportedly the recipient of a Bronze Star and Purple Heart, was a retired IRS agent who neighbors call, quote, a family man. This comes in correlation with a story, another story that comes out of Portland in the early of last month, July 2nd of last month, where police shot and killed a Navy veteran on the streets when he was trying to break up a fight. This comes from CBS News as well. Dozens of protesters marched through the streets of Portland on Sunday demanding action after Portland State University police shot and killed a Navy veteran. Cell phone video captured the early Friday incident when witnesses say Jason Washington was trying to break up a fight. It appears Washington's guns fell from his holster before police fatally shot him. This isn't the first time tensions have risen at the university over armed campus safety officers. Students have been strongly opposed since the policy began in 2015. One protester said she feared there was only a matter of time before someone got killed. CBS News correspondent David Bergnaud reports the incident occurred Friday after a fight started to escalate outside a sports bar. According to witnesses, the 45-year-old Washington, who is seen in the video carrying a gun on his right hip, tried to intervene but fell during the scuffle, which is when his gun fell from the holster. When he tried to pick it up, the police basically said, do not get the gun, do not get the gun. And as he was still just kind of putting his hands up, they shot him. Overall, we talk about it when it comes to African Americans. However, it doesn't seem to get reported as much when it comes to veterans or white men, but it's something that still happens out there in America. Now, my question for you, Al, is a couple. I have a two-part question for you. One is, what are your thoughts on both of these cases? And B, what do you think can be done in America to ease the relations and tensions between police officers and everyday citizens when it comes to stories like this?
So, I think as police officers, and I know that a lot of them are doing their job and they're doing their best to protect people. They really need, a lot of people, even if it's a mistake, if they shoot someone or kill someone, they really need to know that it's a human life and it needs to be valued. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it's literally someone's life they're taking. And even if it's for the safety of you and other people, you really got to be careful when it comes to things like that. And I think the other question was, and by the way, I think that situation is terrible that they ended up dying. But the other question was, I'm sorry, it was.
How do you think that tensions can be relieved between police officers and everyday citizens when it comes to situations like this? After hearing situations like this,
I mean, I think the best thing that I can think of is that I think citizens and police, I think maybe hold some meeting or a town hall or something like that on ways that how they can kind of work with each other, like how they can accommodate with each other in times of need and crime and stuff like that. I think police officers need to realize what's more off limits and what they can do instead of trying to shoot people and other alternatives to figure out, which I'm sure they're already doing. And I feel like citizens can voluntarily they can talk to policemen to see what they can do and what actions they can take to prevent anyone from getting killed. That's the best thing I could think of. So maybe like some big town hall meeting or something.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I think that would definitely make people feel a little bit more comfortable in communities like that, I think that could honestly still at the same time lead to just a lot of shouting and
Yeah. Oh, I know.
possibly
Yeah.
violence when it comes to that as well.
For sure.
So it depends on the community you're in. It obviously depends on the people in the community and what's happened and what's been going on and everything like that. But too many times we see these cases lead to where the police officer gets administrative leave or just ends up leaving the department instead of actually seeing true justice take place. I have a lot more I want to add to this, and I will do that after we end this part. We'll be right back with the next part for you guys of the show, and we'll be right back.